Ambrose on row 1 of the grid. Faulkner and Murphy, positions 3 and 4. Ingle, Ellery, Bernard and Garth Tander.
Craig Lowndes and Stephen Richards, Todd Kelly and John Bow starts out at 12. Rick Kelly and Paul Radisich, Stephen Johnson in the second shell forward, and Glenn Seaton.
Towards the back of the field, the Kiwi of Jason Richards, Neil Crompton, Greg Ritter starting for DJR this weekend. Max Wilson, the Brazilian, in position number 21. Perkins and Barguana is there in positions number 24. You've got Paul Wheel in 25, and right down to the last row of the grid, the Cat Racing Ford of Simon Wills and the Sydney-based team of Cameron McConville, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. So we've got some terrific conditions here. 18 degrees outside, 28 degrees on the track, and you'll be on board with a whole host of our drivers as we go round through round 3. Stephen Johnson in the Shell Helix Ford Falcon, car number 17. We've got a few cameras in there. Wayne, this should be a hell of a start. Your teammate Marcus Ambrose is alongside Mark Scape. It's Commodore and Falcon at the front row of the grid. An interesting second row of the grid with John Faulkner, with Greg Murphy. Race start ready to take place. Here we go, race 2 of round 3 at Eastern Creek. Sunshine galore, big crowds, and a hell of a scrap in front of us. 39 laps, 150 Ks. Mark Scape got the power down first. Greg Murphy's charged up right behind Marcus Ambrose. Scape will take the line into turn 1, and Murphy is putting lots of pressure on the outside of Marcus Ambrose.
Great start by Murphy. You saw him leap off the line, really pounced on the Pertec Ford, and he's actually going to try and round up Mark Scape as well. He's gone way offline though.
Straight into the dirt at turn 2, the Kmart Commodore. He really took the jump out to Marcus Ambrose, and there's a spin there involving Brad Jones. Brad Jones in the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon caught at the exit of 2, rear panel damage to the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon. Let's see what happened at the front of the field as Murphy tried to make his way around Mark Scape. Well, in the end, it's just settled back to 1 and 2, hasn't it? Scape, Ambrose, Faulkner's in there as well. They've all held their positions except car number 51.
Yeah, Greg Murphy will be kicking himself there. Very aggressive start. He carried that momentum all the way through turn 1, all the way down to turn 2. Maybe got a little bit excited trying to take Scape around the outside, and he paid a big penalty. Understeered off, and now he's lost a lot of track position.
He was committed, wasn't he, Wade? Once he got out there, he was committed.
I think he was rather too ambitious for that for the second corner of the race. He's rushed in there with good speed, obviously, and the tyres still being cold. Turned in, it wouldn't turn. It's gone straight ahead onto the dirt and lost about 48 positions in the doing so. So it wasn't the smartest move, and particularly being a long endurance race like this. So big mistake.
One of the features that we'll show, like we did throughout race 1, the Twilight race, we'll be able to show you where the drivers have moved from their starting position. Have they gone up? Have they gone down? Well, Mark Scape comes across to the roars of the crowd, a packed crowd at the front grandstand of the main straight. Here they go into turn 1. This sweeping left-hander, 200 kilometres plus. That's Garth Tander. Behind him is Craig Lowndes. Scape with a 1:39.203 has the fastest time out there. Ambrose is second. Faulkner's behind him. Russell Ingles in there, and David Bernard make up the top 5.
Bernard ran really wide there on the exit of turn 2. He's lucky he didn't lose a position there, Wayne. He went right off.
Yes, and also I noticed Marcus as well. You know, that's something that the guys have been trying to fight with the two cars, and they have made some changes from yesterday, and they said the biggest complaint is that they can't follow this man here, Scape, in the tight corners. That's where they seem to get away. They just don't have the grip. They have made some changes, but looks like it may not be working just at this stage, although it is very early in the race and tyres are still a little bit cold.
Pressure here from Russell Ingle on John Faulkner. Man who's just taken an amazing step up in performance this weekend. Dynapack entry, just all of a sudden very, very competitive. But Russell Ingle now puts the squeeze on the car. No touch there, but very, very close. But Russell Ingle looks like he's in a hurry. I spoke to John Faulkner earlier this morning before this race. He said, well, if someone comes up and they can run faster than me, we really want to get some points, because he's very much aware of the qualifying situation at Hidden Valley in a few weeks' time, and he really wants to get some championship points on the board.
Kim Jones and the Aussie Mail crew have a stack of race tape on standby for Brad Jones. What they're saying at the moment is keep the Aussie Mail Falcon out there until the window opens. They'll try and patch it up during the stop.
Well, the pit window is open now for compulsory tyre change. We go back on board with Russell Ingle. Car heavily loaded up, 200 kilometres an hour. They tackle turn 1, and it's hard on the brakes down towards turn 2, right down to about 70 Ks. He's really feeling the pressure from the Castrol man at the moment. The order: Scape, Ambrose, Faulkner, Ingle. Here's a replay of the start, Wayne.
Yeah, see Murph's done a very good start. He's gone down the outside. Now this is going to be hard because Marcus has got line on the inside here, and basically Marcus, all he's got to do is hold it into the brakes. But Murph's had really good corner speed in the first up, particularly with cold tyres. He's rushed in on the outside, gone into the loose stuff and cold tyres, and so see you later into the dirt, and of course loses 48 positions out of it. So there's a...
Well, Greg Murphy ended up losing 9 positions in that. Paul Radicic was one of the big winners of the first lap. He went up 4 positions. So, like we've been talking about, as John Faulkner once again gets the blowtorch from Russell Ingall at the very same turn. That's turn 10, coming down towards turn 11. And then they join up to the front straight for turn 12. Now, the last time they did this, the 46 car versus the 8 car, and in straight line speed, there was nothing in it. So, the Castrol Commodore of Russell Ingall is going to have a pretty good battle on his hands with John Faulkner. This is exactly what Ingall did, just gets out into some clean air on the left-hand side of John Faulkner, and Faulkner pulls away.
Yeah, Matty, you know, in the qualifying, Faulkner was very, very quick. He was like 3rd or 4th fastest, and Russell was a long way back. But the situation's changed now because this is race distance and it's a long race, and they're carrying, 100-odd litres of fuel. So the cars tend to understeer a lot. You can see how wide it's going in that corner because they're carrying 100 litres of fuel right in the boot of the car, which basically puts all the weight over the back tyres, and of course when you turn you've got understeer, but when that fuel burns off, some of the grip will come back to the front, and these drivers can change the car inside to balance that out with a roll bar adjustment. As you can see them fiddling around with bars inside the car, but it's always a hard situation.
First Shell Ford comes into pit lane for the compulsory tyre change. Stephen Johnson goes early. He's going to get this stop out of the way and wait for the field to come back to him. Yeah, try and make hay while the sun shines. Get a good lap on the tyres. Try and make as much real estate up as he can.
That's easily said than done,
yeah.
Mark, because when the tyres are cold, as we see with Murph, you can easily spear off. So you're trying to make time. Very easy to flat spot a front tyre because they're not up to working temperature, and when you come into the turn and you've still got a boot full of fuel, they just understeer. So easy to say, but hard to do.
There's certainly a recurring theme when you come to Eastern Creek, isn't it? The word understeer. I mean, you've got to come here with the mindset that you're going to have to deal with it all the way throughout.
Yes, it's the difficult with this track is a couple of long, fast corners, and you just cannot get the cars to turn. But when you do get them to turn there, then they oversteer in the small corners. So you've got to have a balance. So I guess you've got to have some sort of understeer in the fast corners, but with not oversteering too much in the slow corners, in the hairpins and so on. So it's always a bit of a difficult one.
Jason Bright saw Paul just trying to fight his way back through the field after that engine failure yesterday. Craig Lowndes carrying one of our many cameras this weekend. It's up behind Garth Tander in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Tander's in 7th, Lowndes is in 8th. They haven't quite hit the sweet spot with this car this weekend. Lowndes just hasn't quite got the speed of those Stone Brothers Falcons.
No, they're not up to our cars at the moment, Mark, and which is good news.
Neil Crompton's in.
Compulsory tyre change out of the way for Crompton, so some teams choosing to come in early must be reasonably confident about the durability of this tyre over a longer distance. Here's Jason Bright. He's going to try the leapfrog trick as well. Had an engine problem yesterday, a broken oil seal, had to stop the car. That put him right down the order, so now he's going to try and leapfrog by taking his stop relatively early.
One of the fascinating things about the V8 Supercar Championship this year with these compulsory pit stops is that, well, the race can certainly be won and lost in pit lane. You can see for tiny little errors, little mistakes that cost you a second in pit lane can cost you a hell of a lot of time out on the track.
Well, 1 second on the racetrack is a long time, and it's very, very hard to make up. But, 1 second in the pits or 2 seconds in the pit, you can make it up very quickly. So your pit crew's very, very important to you.
Mark Scaife currently has the fastest sector time throughout the first 2 sectors, but Marcus Ambrose is the quickest around the last sector of this track. So it looks as though if they stay this way, there's a hell of a long way to go, though. 33 laps. You've got Scaife and Ambrose out the front. Faulkner and Ingall are behind them. Bernard, Ellery, Tander and Lowndes. That's the battle we're looking at right now. This man won here in 1996. His first ever V8 Supercar round win. That was Craig Lowndes. That's how he announced his arrival to the V8 world. And here's the Dynapack car of John Faulkner.
I was talking to John earlier today about trying to get an answer on this sudden increase in performance. He puts it down to a couple of major things. He was having all sorts of steering geometry problems with the car. He says they got on top of that, so the car's turning much better. also just completed a new engine development program with Dean Leopold, the engine builder, in-house at Faulkner's. And he said that two things have made a big difference to the performance of the car. Well, that's all he's done. It's a massive difference because he's leapt up from nowhere to be fighting in the top four.
Yeah, well, Mark, I think that's hard to believe, to tell you the truth. I think that there's more to it than that. You know, engines can make a little bit. It might make another 10 or 20 horsepower more, but it doesn't make up, you know, 1 second or 2 seconds. I think there's a lot more to that story than we're hearing, but it's certainly working very good and handling well. And, you know, for example, he's holding off Russell Ingle, who's one of the top runners, and John's had a, you know, hasn't been a front runner in the past, and he's leading Russell very clearly and easily at this stage. So I think he's done a lot to suspension, a real lot in general.
But look at this closing. He's been sizing him up a few laps. I think he might have it this time. 200 kilometres an hour, side by side through turn one. Russell Ingle pulls off a beautifully clean manoeuvre, but Faulkner tries to sneak on the inside. Ingle closes the door, and he picks up third position.
Mark's, John's new engine wasn't that quick down the straight.
For Mark Scape to come in and get that compulsory stop out of the way.
And the fastest lap of the race so far, Scape, a 1:32.99. There's no other car has recorded a time in the 1 minute 32 second bracket. A very quick round here. Let's watch the crew on the Helix pit stop clock. Got a little fumble at Phillip Island that cost them dearly. Not going to make the same mistake this time around. 9.8, under 10 seconds. Very slick stop from the Holden Racing Team crew. Ambrose was 5.5 seconds behind Scape before he came in for the stop, so he certainly will have overtaken, but he has yet to make his compulsory stop as well. So he'll have the foot down here trying to make up as much ground as possible. Here it is, Pertec Ford, race leader.
It'll be interesting to see what the Ross and Jimmy do as far as tyre strategy goes now when they're going to put him in. He's obviously in the lead by, you know, quite a margin, but just to see if they're just going to burn fuel off and then leave him hang out there for a while and then put fresh tyres towards the end for a big push at Scafie, which I think probably would be the right thing to do, but he's going in.
Bringing him in now.
I'm wrong.
1 lap behind. They're all pioneering this stuff though, Wayne, because it's the first year for the Dunlop control tyre.
Yes.
A lot of the guys haven't had a chance to run a full race distance on any of these circuits, so...
Marcus, nice and steady, mate, on the march.
Getting direction from the crew, 40 km/h speed limiter on. Hear the car backfiring and popping as it comes down pit lane.
Tell you what, Mark, after being out in the race and you come in at 40 k's, you feel like you get out and walk faster than these things do, coming in at 40 k's.
You're not the first man to say that. Everyone's so frustrated with that 40 k's.
Yes.
It's all about safety. Let's see. Mark Scape did a 9.8 second pit stop. He did it under 10. Good work for the Pertec crew. They're going to get him outside just on 10 seconds.
That was actually the Caltex Haviline team. They're changing their tyres for the Pertec crew. So that was my guys. Good on you guys.
So Ambrose gets back in. He's out of the 40k speed limit. Let's try and catch up where he has rejoined the circuit relative to Mark Scape. Ambrose back in action. Slick stop. Oh, look how much the car understeers there. Cold tyres. Classic example.
That's what happens. And also he's still got a pretty heavy load of fuel in the back. So that's exactly what happens. And that's the problem that the team have been chasing all weekend, is a bit of front grip in the tight corners.
Yeah.
That and the hairpin. It's a tough one for them.
And that means that this man now has the on-track race lead. Russell Ingle yet to pit. Car number 8, you're on board the Dunlop camera for the Castrol Perkins Commodore. It's always a good way to watch someone attack.
Looks like he's going to fight you with those eyes, doesn't he?
Well, just the way he also lines up, very corner. It's almost like, you know, looking through a shotgun. He sort of takes the corner with his eyes first, and then lets the car follow.
He's probably had a bit of practice walking around with a shotgun in his hand, the way he looks, doesn't he? I wouldn't tangle with him in a dark night in a dark alley, that's for sure.
Just to put you in the picture of what happened as a result of race 1 overall on the championship, Russell Ingle moved up from 13th position overall to 11th position overall after that first race that we had. Collected a few points, 35 points he got in the bag after finishing 5th. But the big problem for the rest of these guys is that after race 1 here today, Mark Scape has gone even further ahead. 660 points he's out clear as Ingle leaves some dust on the track. And take a look at your PlayStation race score now. It gives you an idea of the changing fortunes here as teams come in and out with their pit stops.
Now there's a good car, the Caltex Haviline car. There's the best car on the track, I think. Come on, David.
You look at your PlayStation 2 race race score at the bottom of the screen, those blue boxes with the T, that notes the cars that have come in and made their compulsory tyre stop. You'll find most of them have decided to go in about the middle of the window. Window closes on lap 28. And as they re-emerge, the front car in the queue in terms of cars that have made their compulsory stop should be Mark Skate. Back in 14th position at the moment. Ambrose is in 16th. There's about 5 seconds between them.
And until now, it's been quite civil down there in pit lane because they've been coming in and out in dribs and drabs, but you get the feeling that on this lap there's going to be more than a couple coming in at a time. Definitely David's going to come in, possibly Russell Ingall coming in. Here's Cameron McLean, one of the guys who had to go through pre-qualifying, VIP Pet Foods entry, and there's Jason Bargwanna behind him. We all know his story for the weekend, and currently he's in 10th position, yet to pit though. Behind him is Tony Longhurst and Craig Baird from Team Brock as well. Here it goes. So Bernard's in, Lowndes is in as well.
This will be an interesting race in the pits to see who gets out first between these two.
These cars in front of Mark Skate making their compulsory stops. Skate back in 14th spot, but he's effectively the race leader. Here's this great duel between the two crews.
Stephen Richards has also come in there.
There's a wheel roll.
Wheels rolled off over the no man's land line. You can see it there in the middle of pit lane. So that's probably going to attract a penalty for the Stone Brothers squad. Very, very hard on the wheel nuts or wheels or anything run over that line. There it is.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if there was a penalty attached to that. That was a shame that happened because there was a reasonable pit stop and they did get out in front of that.
Could be costly. Look at this. Jason Bargwanna maintaining the pressure. The VIP Pet Foods car of Cameron McLean. The Queenslander would just be happy to have made it through pre-qualifying. You can see how close Bargwanna is there.
Let him know he's there anyway.
Leaning on him left, right and centre. Cameron McLean 11th, Jason Bargwanna in 10th. Yes, I think Gary Rogers, his team boss, will be watching pretty closely. You don't want to bend that again.
In-car camera. And there's Paul Wheel coming in, car number 43 coming into pit. It looks as though he's coming in on 3 wheels.
It's a sidecar, not a car.
Paul's lost his surname as he comes in, that jacket straight up. Well, you're not going to find it under there, don't worry about that. Whack another one on. That was the incident. It looks as though it's up the top of turn 2, so he's lost that completely. He's almost completed an entire lap with 3 wheels.
Well, he's coming in one of the cars that have made his compulsory tyre change. He's just trying to clean up the hub and check it and make sure it's not damaged so he can continue. So that's what I mean. It's a bit costly, this. Crews changing wheels under pressure. Things can go wrong.
That's why it's very much a team effort now, Mark.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's got to work all together. Obviously, the drivers, you know, as I said earlier, to find 1 second out there is very hard.
Yeah.
And but to find 1 or 2 seconds in the pits, if you've got an efficient crew, it's a lot better. So everyone's got to work together, and it is a team effort.
Bit of bad luck for Paul Wheel as he comes in and gets another one on. What about him at Phillip Island? He was another of the victims of the Jason Bargwanna crash. He had to spear off to the left and managed to hit a drain, avoiding that crash. It caused spoiler, shock absorber and radiator damage. Into the pits we come with Russell Ingall. So he's come in. Just like Wayne said, it's painstakingly slow at 40 k's an hour. Remember when they're coming down pit straight normally, the main straight, they're doing 270.
While they're in the pits, just watching the timing monitor, Marcus Ambrose continues to close on race leader Mark Skate.
Russell Ingall came in for that stop, but Larry Perkins came in as well, and he said to the team on the radio, you're going to have to get ready now. The boys were not ready for Larry's arrival.
Yeah, it can happen under the heat of pressure here, competition. 18 of 39 gone. Russell Ingall rejoins the race, but since during that stop, Marcus Ambrose has closed the gap to Mark Skate down to about just under 2.5 seconds now. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Pertec Ford claw back that leading Commodore. There he is, catching Scaife. Scaife's in 5th. He's just taken Ambrose, so there's nothing between him and Scaife. There you are, look at the gap. Really closed it down. So the Pertec Ford continuing to lap slightly faster than Scaife. Would have been a result of traffic. We'll find out now. They've got a clean fight.
I think a lot of this is also the fuel is getting burnt up, and the cars are slider in the rear of the car, and it looks like, you know, his entry into the Formula is a bit stronger than skate at this stage. But you know, when the fuel burns off, the car gets lighter in the rear of the car, and obviously gets less understeer, and he can catch. So Marcus is doing a great job out there.
Fastest lap of the race so far in the Super Cheap Auto. Fastest lap score, 1:32.96 on lap 13. We're up to lap 18 now, and he's continued to carry that pace on his second set of tyres. Really starting to close in on the back of the Holden Racing Team Commodore. What's the gap now? Check it out for you. Scape is now up to third. Ambrose is up to fourth, but they're effectively your race leaders because only Garth Tander and Stephen Ellery are yet to pit.
That explains it there on your PlayStation 2 race score. The little blue chips on the right-hand side of the name with the T in it means that they've come in for their tyre stop. So Longhurst and Brad Jones out of that group haven't come into the pits yet. Lowndes, Ingle and Faulkner certainly have.
Well, this will be surprising a few people, Wayne Gardner, but looks like the Stone brothers are carrying on that message. They are starting to get a handle on these cars.
Yeah, we've improved a lot over the last couple of months, and you know, you can see that it's starting to work a bit stronger. But yeah, we've got a little bit more work to do. I mean, catching the skate is one thing, but getting by him is another. So he's a bit of a wily old fox, and you know, HRT run a good operation with that car. And but you know, we're getting closer. As you can see, Marcus I think he's an outstanding driver. I think he's a very, very talented driver, and he's probably the guy that if anyone's going to take it up, he's going to take it for skate.
It's going to be interesting too because Marcus Ambrose was very effective at blocking Mark Scape out of the lead at Phillip Island a couple of weeks ago. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Let's just see how wide Scape can make that Holden Racing Team Commodore.
It'll be his turn for payback.
He's got a long way to go too. It's only lap 19 of 39.
Well, he said quite clearly if he does get the chance to pay back, he'd do it, wouldn't he, Mark Scope? He made no bones about that. Let's take a look at this fantastic shot right in.
You can see that there on the left at the top there. Oh, it's going to shake around a bit. This is one of the only criticism that Mark Scape has of this setup, that when he's going around a corner, the digital readout is constantly moving in front of his eye line as opposed to being fixed on the dashboard.
Oh, poor guy. I feel sorry for him. He's leading the race and he can't read his digital readouts.
I don't know about you, but most of us, when we hit a corner at that speed, would like to see the corner, not the steering wheel first up.
Exactly. My eyes are usually bigger than saucers, and they're peering to the window, not at the steering wheel.
Here's one of the good success stories of this round. Greg Ritter had to come through pre-qualifying. He did so. Such a pressure-packed session it was, and Wayne Gardner's testament to that. He'll tell you all about it. But car number 71 made it through and put massive smiles on the face of DJR Racing. He almost went off there in that replay, but it was great to see Greg Ritter get through because it means that Shell Helix have now got 3 cars in this field, and he did fight at Phillip Island. He missed out through pre-qualifying there, and he admitted to me it was hard to catch those guys, hard to catch the top teams around the back part of the track. He had lots of speed in the front part of the track down Gardner Straight, but when it got all the technical tricky stuff, that's where he couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, that was his excuse, and basically mine was I just had lap traffic, and someone had been off the circuit and brought on a heap of gravel, and when I was trying to do my time, I hit the gravel and slid off the road on, obviously when the tyre was when it was at its premium, and I missed out by 1/10 of a second. It was disappointing because I don't think it's a true test of my speed and the car speed. And look, I would have loved to have been out there today, but you know, I think that it's probably not the right way to do it. I think they should just let everybody out there in the top 36 get into the race, as simple as that, you know. And it's a bit disappointing. And I guess the biggest losers at all this are the sponsors, and sponsors aren't, you know, the easiest guys to go and find and support you. So, but look, you know, lessons are learned. We'll go away and we'll get back at the next race, and I can tell you one thing, it won't happen again.
Did you feel the pressure going into that? I mean, we always talk about pressure to top-line athletes, and some of them, you know, deal with it in varying ways. Glenn Seaton admitted to me that was a hell of a pressure-packed session, and he really felt it beforehand.
Yes, I did, but I sort of went into it pretty relaxed because I was really confident of, you know, being probably one of the quickest guys, and out of that group, normally I would be, but I guess it probably caught me unaware, and it just goes to show you that anything can happen, even to some of the top guys. I mean, for example, if you had a plug lead fall off, or you got a flat tyre, or anything happen, you actually miss out, and that's kind of unfair.
Well, if you take a look at this Dunlop telemetry on Greg Murphy's Kmart Commodore, it'll give you a good idea of the speeds. You've got the speed there on the left-hand side of your screen, the revs on the right-hand side. In front of him is one of the Shell Helix cars, and Greg Murphy is currently in position 11, so that's Paul Radisich and Stephen Johnson in front of him here. Really pushing the rev limiter up. This is the bouncy, the up and down part of this circuit. Look at that ripple strip on the inside left-hand corner. Rejoining turn 9.
gap over Marcus Ambrose. 1.5 seconds, so he's been able to pump it out by about half a second over the last 2 laps. Maybe he's going to start trying to build that buffer again. That Ambrose gets within half a second of his car.
Well, the pit window will shut at lap 28, but everybody's already gone in. Scaife and Ambrose are now back out in front, 1 and 2. Garth Tander will be updated. There you go, right there. Craig Lowndes moves up into position number 3. Todd Kelly's in 4th. Ingle is in 5th. So this is how they're going to race it right to the end of the lap 39. Greg Murphy in position 9. Radicic in 10 and John Bowen 11.
Neil Crompton, Stephen Richards, Jason Wright in there too. All the way down to David Bernard in 24th position. Back with more from Easter Creek on your home of motorsport.
Well, Russell Ingall is in pit lane, but not the way he wants to be. He's only got 3 wheels on the Castrol Perkins Commodore. And the reason is, of course, he's lost one, but just how he lost it was in a pretty crazy situation. We had a report that he had a rear loose wheel. Technicians now getting in there, making sure that everything's clean and okay. This is exactly what happened. Take a look at this. Now watch this wheel nut come off the left-hand side of the screen. There it goes. As one of the Kmart Commodores comes through and avoids that, and the only other thing to go was going to be the wheel. Thankfully, everybody avoided that mess.
Now he's in the sidecar race as well with wheels.
Oh, what a moment. Running up there in 4th position. About 3.5 seconds behind Craig Lowndes, who's in 3rd. Now he's dropped a ton of track positions.
You know, Mark, this is a great example of how important your pit crew is, doing everything efficiently. You know, not having a wheel run off, not having to dropping the nut, not wheels falling off on the track, and that's why, you know, the crew has to be, you know, as good as the effort you're putting in on the track.
Here's the man who's done a great fight back today. Started out in 9th position this morning, and he's made up 6 spots. He's currently in 3rd, behind race leader Mark Scaife and Marcus Ambrose. They're about 21 seconds up the road. This will give Lowndes a really good starting position for the 3rd and final race today. Here's the story, 24.1 seconds he is behind Marcus Ambrose.
Todd Kelly, another of the big movers, has moved up 7 positions since his race start. So you can see that on the yellow boxes there on the side of each name. Neil Crompton's moved up 6 into 12th. Jason Bright has leapfrogged 17 places into 13th. And he's finding some speed after that failure in race 1. So you can hear 00 Motorsport crew talking to Craig Lowndes. 12 laps left. He's in position number 3. In front of him is a lot of clear road.
Tander is holding station with you at the moment.
Garth Tander's 2 positions behind Craig Lowndes. Marcus Ambrose is in front, and Mark Scaife still leads this race. This is Todd Kelly and Garth Tander, positions 4 and 5, getting all close. A little too close for comfort.
Wow, Garth Tander's really starting to put the pressure on here. Todd Kelly in 4th place, Garth Tander in 5th. Bolton has dropped back to 6th as a result of the pit stops. The pressure's really on. Garth Tander enjoying increasing competitiveness from the Valvoline Cummins car. Went away and did a lot of homework over the summer. Figured out just exactly what was wrong with these cars.
Kelly's doing quite a bit of blocking here. He has nothing like the speed of Tander, no. So there he goes, he's got him. He held him off for a little while, but obviously couldn't hold it back any longer.
Craig Lowndes has been on that radio constantly to engineer Oscar Fiorinato over the last couple of laps. He is very concerned about the rear tyres on this car and nursing them and looking after them towards the end of the race. So he's been continually checking the times of those in front and behind.
Yeah, it could be in a vulnerable situation. 134 neat for Mark Scaife, very consistent. 134.26 for Marcus Ambrose. And we'll wait for Craig Lowndes to come across the start finish line at 34.4. So he's hanging in there at the moment, but he's obviously aware that his tyres are not in great shape.
Here's the rear of the field. Max Wilson, Rodney Forbes and Brad Jones. You can see the damage done to the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon at the very second corner of the first lap.
Yeah, it was a big shame. Yesterday's 20-minute sprint twilight race, after such a great qualifying top 10 shootout effort for Max Wilson, the Brazilian, he's just right up the clutch. It's really hot. About 14 or cars overtook him on the line, dropped him right down the order. He's still back there at the moment, 26th position. Midfield dice as Jason Bright trying to fight his way back. The racing team had a very unusual failure. Bright's car yesterday was a seized oil pump. A failure they've never had. You never know when these things are going to jump up and bite you. Worst possible time for Bright was trying to hang on in this fight for the championship. That was not what he intended to kick his season off on this degree.
No, he's had some dramas, you know. Yeah, it's been really unfortunate for him because he's very good driver. But you know, the Lady Luck's certainly on Mark's side this year, and he doesn't seem to put a foot wrong. Although it is a very long year, and he's got a huge gap at this stage. But I hope Brighty hangs in there and keeps fighting. Obviously, the adverse luck at the moment, and it'll turn around for him because he's very talented. He's obviously in a very good team, and I'm sure he can win some races.
That's the battle group. We've got Jason Bright in 13th position. Neil Crompton is in front of him. Then Stephen Ellery in the Super Cheap Auto car, and Glenn Seaton, one of only 3 active drivers in this field to have won a V8 Supercar round here at Eastern Creek. Mark Scape and Craig Lowndes are the others. And of course, Scape has won the last 3 on the trot. So Stephen Ellery trying to put some pressure on Bright, who's got the headlights on, and Rodney Forbes finds the wall.
The old colour scan Falcon. They put Rodney back in that car because of the damage inflicted on Lowndes' car at Phillip Island. They put Craig in the car that Rodney was driving, which was, of course, the ex-Stone Brothers car, the first car that came on board. And they set up the new team. So they had a real shuffle of cars there. The car that Lowndes crashed at Phillip Island was in the middle of repairs. Hopefully that'll be in action for the next round of Hidden Valley.
So currently, the top 5 reads like this. Mark Scape out in front. He's 2.2 seconds clear of Marcus Ambrose. Then Craig Lowndes, Garth Tander, and Todd Kelly. Now Kelly is 2.4 seconds back from that. So Mark Scape, lap 31 of 39. Looks as though he's going to make it 2 out of 2 here if he can hold on. And this is the incident involving Max Wilson and Rodney Forbes. Forbes loses the rear of that. Safe spot. It's Greg Ritter and crash into the concrete.
A little bit too much throttle weight.
A little bit too ambitious on the pedal at that stage. He obviously tried to drive it up the inside there of Max and got it sideways, got it loose, and
ran out of ability.
Well, once you get to that point, momentum. Well, I don't want to say that, but once you get to that point, momentum takes over. Thanks, Mark.
Mark Scape, Marcus Ambrose, 2.4 seconds the gap between them. Craig Lowndes, 22 seconds now behind our leading pair, but Garth Tander is closing on Lowndes by about half a second a lap. So Craig, he may be struggling for rear tyre grip.
If you watch Craig's car earlier, it's very stiff in the rear. It looks like they've stiffened the rear of the car up, and they've made the car turn a lot better, which is probably what he was after for today. And but in doing that, I mean, that's a bonus to get more grip at the front, but you burn the rear tyres up quicker, and towards the end of these long races, you really start to struggle. And by the looks of it, the Tander is coming and coming fast, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold him off towards the end.
8.3 seconds the gap now between Tander and Lowndes, so watch that closely. Craig is vulnerable at the moment, lap 31 of 39. Scape well in command here, 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, Marcus hasn't been quite just a little. We're always chasing that little bit with HRT, you know, and although we are getting closer, but we're just going to have to keep our heads down and back to the drawing board and keep working out, because, you know, they're the team that everyone wants to win, and it's just great to see Marcus up there, the forward challenging Holden, which is what all the spectators and everyone wants to see.
That's exactly it, and it is Holden versus Ford in 1 and 2 right here. Craig Lowndes hanging on to 3rd position at the moment. Tander, Kelly, Faulkner, Murphy and Johnson. The Shell Helix race score takes you all the way down to position number 16. The exciting finish to race 2 of round 3 is coming up. Stay with us.
Team now, which is great news for Ford, and because Marx is doing a great job, and I'd hate to see something like that happen and, you know, finish up what I call a great race for him.
Another blowout for Paul Wheel.
Yeah, flat tyre here from pit lane on the front right of the K&J thermal car, so they've not had a good run today. Damage, you can see that rear wheel came off.
That's a tough day at the office doing that. Oh, the wheel's cut in half.
Everything's gone off.
The wheel has been sliced in two.
Yeah.
He'd already lost the rear, come in and got that fixed up, and now the front has gone as well.
Well, that could be. I've had this similar thing in the past. It's where a brake caliper or a rock actually gets caught between the caliper and the wheel, and it actually cuts the wheel in half. That's how you get a blowout, and then the wheel falls in half.
We have heard of that on a couple of occasions previously in V8 Supercars. Happened to Larkham as well.
That's right.
Just like putting it on a lathe.
That happened with me, yeah.
That's comparing the lap times of race leader Mark Skate and Marcus Ambrose at the 5 last laps, and you can see it's a very, very close contest. Ambrose is holding him. The gap down to 2.1 has been jumping around between 2.4. So these cars very evenly matched, but Skate just has that crucial 2-second buffer.
The Pertec Ford Falcon of Marcus Ambrose in perspective for the championship. You talked about the bit of bad luck and all that kind of stuff that he's had throughout. I mean, he's only finished one race for the both weekends that we've had for both rounds. Had he finished both of those races, and realistically he was in a top 5 position at both Adelaide and Phillip Island, he'd be second in the championship, at least second in the championship. He couldn't overhaul Mark Skate, but he'd be right up there coming in here. The difference is
a 7.8 second gap at the moment.
he comes here in 7th position overall on the championship. After race 1, he's bumped that up into 5th. And like you were saying during race 1, Wayne, that the challenge is to try and catch 2nd position in the championship. You know you can't get Skate here. That's what we're aiming for.
Absolutely, that's what the team have got their focus on right now, and yeah, they're doing their best, obviously. But look, I think talent's going to prevail here. It's a long year ahead, and consistently Marcus is up the front in the Stone Brothers car. So I'd say it's only a matter of time before he actually does get second in the championship. And listen, listening to the radio here of Lowndes, he's hurting on the rear tyres. He's burning those rear tyres up. He's very concerned about Tander coming. So he's got a different car today. They've changed springs, and I heard that there was springs spread all over the floor. They've changed the car obviously a lot. From what I can see, they've stiffened it up. It's got a lot more turn, but it is burning the rear tyres up big time. And he's very concerned about Tander is on his way, and can he catch him before the end of the race.
Tander's got it. Let's check it out. 10 seconds. About 7.3 seconds. Garth Tander's behind Craig Lowndes, so that gap's stabilised a bit. Lowndes has been able to respond, but the question is how long. He hasn't got that far to go now. That's 35 or 39. He might be able to hang on. Whoa! Well, Stephen Ellery having a big lock-up in the turn into. There he is. Up on the grass in the background there. So there he is, the Super Cheap Autos car. Locked him up coming into turn 2. Lost himself a few positions as a result.
That's what happens. You try really hard, and then you overdo it. There's a level, and particularly when the tyres are old and you're getting tired as well, and there's a lot of carbon monoxide in there, and of course he got in there hot trying to make up a little bit of time on the guy in front, and of course locked the rears. He's gone off and going, oh man, lose about 10 spots.
Yep.
That's just getting a bit too anxious with 3 or 4 laps to go. It was unfortunate for him.
Nerves are starting to build as they're all trying to clamour for championship points. You've got to complete a race to get any championship points. That's the rules in V8 Supercar racing this year. Lap 36 of 39. Let's take a look at how they're sitting. Scaife and Ambrose still out in front. Lowndes is under a fair deal of pressure from Garth Tander. And then there's Kelly, Faulkner, Murphy and Stephen Johnson.
Paul Radisich and John Bell round out the top 10 for coming up for a big finish. Don't miss it. We come back.
Positions 12 and 13.
These two have been at it for the whole race.
Yeah.
Bow and Richards, and there's not much between them, and they just can't quite seem to pull in the 2 shell forwards. So this is a pretty good little battle in midfield.
On board the car number 17, Shell Helix Ford Falcon of Stephen Johnson. That's his teammate Paul Radisich. Some threatening clouds overhead could provide some interesting racing in race 3. This is 37 of 39.
Jason Barguana has been having some dramas, guys. The Valvoline Cummins Commodore has developed a misfire. He is on the reserve tank in this car. There's a serious question mark about whether there'll be enough fuel to get his car to the finish of this race.
I don't think it will be, Mark. That's my prediction out of all that. Reserve fuel tanks don't usually last more than probably 2 to 3 laps, and although he might, it's questionable, but maybe not. He's probably had it on for a little while, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see unfortunately Tander's car sit down in the dirt somewhere parked before the finish.
RPN Live TV, they had an interesting poll throughout the last couple of weeks on the Murphy Barguana situation, and in the wash-up, 51% say Greg Murphy was using the correct line involved in that Bargwana crash. 49% say he should have backed off. So that's an interesting little poll coming out of rpmlive.tv. Check it out. You'll get some great broadcast times of Billy Woods. We'll talk you through exactly what's happening in the world of motorsport, not only at 10 but right around the world. Now the Canberra 400 is round 5 of the championship. We know what that kind of weekend can throw up, just about everything. www.tickettech.com is the web address for your tickets, and the phone number on your screen. That's Saturday 8th and 9th of June, the Canberra 400 throughout the streets of the nation's capital. You'll see it here on Network 10. 17 and 18 car numbers, 17 and 18 still in this pretty good battle involving John Bowe and Stephen Richards. It's worth a look at Stephen Richards throughout this championship because he's been involved in some great fights from the word go in his first year at the Castrol Perkins Commodore Racing Team. He finished 4th overall in Adelaide, had a bad weekend at Phillip Island, but he's always involved in some pretty good scrap midway throughout the field if he's stuck there.
Yeah, he's 6th in the championship points right up to now as a result of, or adding in the points from the 20-minute sprint yesterday. And here's car 35, the car in question on the reserve fuel tank. I want to be on the reserve one. They just tried to run him on the lightest starting fuel load.
Absolutely. You know, as I was mentioned to you earlier, when you've got a load of fuel in the back, the car's understeer, and it's also punishes the rear tyres. So the lighter the fuel load, the lighter the car, and obviously, you know, the faster it goes and the easier it is on tyres. So you've got to try and cut that as fine as possible. But unfortunately, I think they're a little bit too fine, and we might see Bargs pushing the car over the line before the finish.
I reckon he'll get out and do it too, because he had a world championship fight to get that car to the start line. Larry Perkins involved in a spin.
Oh, shunt, look at the bonnet.
Yeah.
The bonnet's got a huge kink in it, so he's had a hit with something.
Barks just stroking it along. He's going to try and get it home. Minimal throttle on the reserve tank. He hasn't got much left. It's going to be very close for Bargwana. Car 35. Running fair way down the field at the moment. He's been losing a ton of time as a result of this fuel shortage here. Out bump between the Team Kiwi car, Jason Richards.
Larry would be nice and happy with that, wouldn't he? If you know Larry, he goes off and he'd be real pleased.
Watch Jason Richards leave the scene of the crime here in a hurry. Watch this.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like it never happened. He just gets out of the way and shoots past. And Larry Perkins will be breathing fire out his ears after that one. Mark Scaife now comes around on the final lap.
He'd be steaming his glasses up, Matty, not breathing fire.
Up through turns 8 and 9, the corporate hill part. Then the right-hander, which is turn 10, back to second gear, 78 kilometres an hour. Marcus Ambrose hasn't let him out of his sight, but he's got something dangling at the back of the Pertec Ford.
Looks like any tape. It's very hard to see, but I hope it's nothing worse than some tape or something underneath the car. But the car looks like it's still running all right, so we should be okay.
It's going to be a case of last man standing. Get across the line first. Scaife comes along the main straight here. He won race 1. He's going to make it 2 out of 2 race victories at the Creek. There he goes. He does it again. 5 out of 6 race wins to start the season, and Mark Scaife is well and truly on the way to a record overall win here at the Creek.
So Marcus Ambrose tried hard. He got to within 2.1 seconds in that final fight. Here comes Craig Lowndes.
Holding on for 3rd position. He's fought off Garth Tander, gets along the back marker. That is a good drive. A terrific drive, as Wayne Gardner has told us throughout. He's had a hell of a lot of troubles, obviously, with his rear tyres. He was more worried about who was behind him instead of in front of him.
Like the last sort of 15, 18 laps, you weren't losing anything to Scaife or Ambrose.
Well, he's made some improvements since listening to that, so they were working frantically this morning, and as I said, there were springs everywhere and bars and you name it, and they've obviously picked the right package, so they're off in the right direction.
There he is. Mark Scaife's done it again. He certainly loves this track, doesn't he? 3 consecutive races. He'll become the first man to win 4 races at one circuit if he can lock it all up here in race 3.
It's not over yet, Matty. It's a long day ahead. I wouldn't just say that just yet.
Another 39 laps to go. This is how they finished. 1, 2 and 3. Scaife, Ambrose and Lowndes. Craig Lowndes, a big mover there, moved up 6 positions. Garth Tander holds on for 4. Then Todd Kelly. John Faulkner gets a top 6 finish. Greg Murphy in 7th and Stephen Johnson in 8th. Radicic and Bowe make up the top 10.
Stephen Richards, Neil Crompton, Jason Bright, Cameron McConville, Glenn Seaton and Mark Larkham climbed into the top 16.
Position 17 involves Jason Richards, car 021, the Team Kiwi, and right down to 20 is Simon Wills. Race 3 is still to come.